Hello, I believe that we are live on both YouTube and on Facebook. And the idea of today is to test out some of our technology so that people can join us and you can follow along as we go live with our virtual Ag Extravaganza this Friday on May 8th. We're going to begin at 10 a.m. And throughout the next hour or two, as we make sure that our technology is working and that we can kind of see what we're trying to do there. Please feel free to join us, or if you want to throw in any questions on either of the platforms, we are testing out our capacity to be able to come live and make sure that we can go off without a hitch. We're really excited. I'll say this a few times here throughout the day. We are extraordinarily excited for what we're going to be doing. Right now, we're scheduled for more than 30 sessions or 30 presentations and stations that we're going to have that day. It's going to go for it's going to go throughout the day, be able to interact with us live. We really are gearing this for elementary students and younger children that are out there. One of our favorite FFA activities every year is our Ag Extravaganza. We love the opportunity to welcome elementary students to the high school to see all of the different things that our students are working on. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that at the high school this year, but we can definitely go to where they are. And there's a lot of exciting things, and we'll kind of be talking about that over the next 2 hours here. Is number one, I'm trying to make sure that I know how to make our technology work so that we can share and have a great experience with all of you. And then also make sure that all of our young people that are going to be presenting. And with that, I'm going to let our first one, we have Kaylin, who's going to be signing on to join us here. Just a moment. Kaylin, just so that you know, once yours ends up connecting here, we are currently live on both Facebook and YouTube. So keep that in mind as we go live. And there you are, Kaylin. How are you today? Can you hear me, Kaylin?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. Did you hear what I said? We are currently live on both Facebook and YouTube.
Okie dokie.
And so we're getting ready, and I'm appreciative that you've joined on. For those that might be watching or whatever on YouTube and Facebook, what are you planning to talk about here on Friday? What's kind of the sneak peek that you have?
Well, so my sneak peek is I'm just gonna go out to my garden, which I'm actually there right now, and I'm just gonna talk about like what we've done, like different parts of a plant and stuff. And I'm actually gonna do a demonstration. I have a plant that I'm gonna plant on Friday. I'm not gonna plant it right now. I'm gonna plant it on Friday so that you guys can see.
Oh, so you're going to actually be planting it while we talk about it on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have in your garden?
Let me walk over there real quick. I got garlic, onions, lettuce, carrots, beets, tomatoes, potatoes, cabbage. I got a lot of stuff. I also have herbs. I got stevia, kale. I think I have some dill. I could be wrong. Let me go over there real quick. This garden's huge. It's like, I don't even know how big it is. Wait. I don't even know where everything is. It's so big. Where'd it go? I lost my herbs. Oh, there they are. Okay, I got stevia, kale, and I think this is lemon. Yeah, lemongrass. stevia, kale, and lemongrass for herbs.
That's quite an
Oh, we also
extent.
have strawberry plants and yep.
Well, that's
Also in my other garden that's down farther. Yeah, I also have strawberries down at my other garden, and we also are gonna have sweet potatoes, but due to this virus, we can't get them right now. So, but we don't plant those until like the fall. So it's cold.
That sounds perfect. I appreciate you logging in here today, Kay, and making sure that your technology works. Does sound like it's out there, and that the connection is going to work all the way out there to your garden. So that is my prime goal on today.
Yeah. Oh, we also have pear trees, 3 apple trees, 3 peach trees.
Well, very good. Well, what I'm going to throw is kind of a reminder. Make sure you kind of lay out your plan for Friday. You're going to have about 6 to 7 minutes there is all
Okay.
to kind of talk about all of it in order to keep on schedule and then hopefully be able to answer a few questions there. But any questions that you have?
Yeah, I have a Google Slides that I could send to you with my plan on it. If you want me to send that to you, I could. If you want me to send that to you or not.
Yeah, if you want to send it to me so we can talk about it just a little bit, I'm all for that. Yeah,
Okay.
love to kind of help you out and looking forward to having you do that, Kay. And now we've had a couple of other folks that have joined us. We have so Kay, we're looking forward to it, and you can feel free to stick on as long as you'd like. I see an old friend of mine I haven't seen for a while there, Rex, you joining us. And then another one of our Pontiac FFA members, Claire, has joined on. And so, yeah, Kay, feel free to stick on as long as you would like. If you have any other questions, let me know. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to throw it to Rex next. How are you, my friend from Tok, Alaska? You're muted, Rex.
There we go. I'm doing well. Still living the dream.
I would ask if the sun is shining, but this time of year, the sun always shines in Tok, Alaska, doesn't it?
It pretty close. We have sunset after 11 and sunrise before 5. So making long days.
Well, that's a lot of fun. It's good to have you. We are, like I said, we are live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube, and that technology seems to be working. And excited to have you join us, buddy. And tell me about your student who's going to join us here on Friday.
Joe will be a senior this year. When I first met you, before I started teaching in Tok, I was not aware of the speed bumps and hurdles that I would encounter. FFA in Alaska is brand new, and it's been going for a little bit, but not very long. There are 17 chapters up here in Tok. They have never heard of it. Some people that moved in from outside as grandparents dealt with it, but kids don't know anything about it. Unless it's basketball, they don't want to know anything about it. So it's been a struggle getting a chapter going, but we are slowly functioning. And so the project concept is brand new to these kids. And I've been just relating it, because up here, wildlife and forestry are probably our big agriculture. We don't grow anything in Tok. 100 miles away in Delta, there's some farming going on, but not much. So when Joe was talking to me about his project about trapping, and I've been out with him a couple times checking the trap line. And so when you sent that phone message to me, it's like, hey, let me see if Joe's interested in it. And he's game. So he actually has roots to Montana, so that helps a lot. And But he has a trap line. He runs 2 different trap lines. He gets Wolverine, Martin, lynx. I think he's had a wolf in once. He hunts a lot, runs equipment a lot. So right now they're up bear proofing their cabin. It is still winter up here. Actually, yesterday or last night was the first night in a long time we haven't froze. So most of the snow is leaving, but where my bait station is for bear hunting, it's still got like 1.5 to 2 feet of snow around there. So the bears are slow waking up.
Well,
That's why
that is
he's not with
crazy.
us.
I want to continue to visit with you unless you got a balance. I've got a couple other students that I know are doing some tech checks right now. So I saw one of my students, Libby Larkin. Libby, you are muted and your video is off, but I'm going to go to you if you want to kind of check and see what you have there. How are you, Libby?
Good.
You got a lot of background sun there.
Yeah, I'm sitting on my couch.
But
I'll probably be in a different spot on Friday, so.
okay, but your tech is working okay?
Yep.
What's in about 20 seconds, what's your station going to be about on Friday?
On Friday, my station's gonna be about grain bin safety and what you should and shouldn't do when you're emptying out grain bins.
That sounds fantastic. Is there anything else that you need from me?
Nope.
Well, very good. You can feel free to stay on as long as you want. I'm gonna kind of bounce a little bit because I know we've had a couple others that have joined us here too. So, but yeah, glad you came on and appreciate that.
Yep.
So have a great day. Let me know if you need anything. All right, Libby?
Alrighty.
Next one, kind of in my order, we have one of our state FFA officers here from Illinois. Emma, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to, we are live, and for everyone that can kind of hear us on here, we are live on Facebook and YouTube right now, and I'm just impressed that the tech seems to be working okay and hasn't started kicking us off. So I'm gonna keep that. So how have you want to tell us a little about you and not real long, but a little of what you're doing and what your station's going to be about on Friday?
Yeah, so I'm obviously not where I'll be on Friday, but my family has a beef cattle feedlot that we kind of run and I work on a lot. So I will be there on Friday and just kind of going through the care that we give the animals, the feeding program, kind of just start to finish what the process is there and kind of showing them, whoever wants to tune in, showing them around in the different buildings that we have and the different feed and animals that we have there.
Well, I'm excited.
Me too.
I am very excited. Happy to have you join us. I'm gonna say this. I speak for, I think, all ag teachers everywhere when we really feel for you and your teammates as state FFA officers, kind of being caught in this mess. So, but appreciate to see you're still smiling and yeah, and grateful to have you jump on this with us.
I'm glad to have the opportunity. I think it's a really cool idea. So we'll look forward to seeing you Friday.
So yeah, looking forward to it. Actually, I just had a conversation with a state officer colleague of yours from Colorado who I think is going to join on with us. So
very cool.
So yeah, I talked to Ashlyn Oshner today, and they've got a cattle ranch out there just outside, not too far outside of Greeley, and she's going to join in with us from the ranch. So we're going to have one state officer coming to us from a feedlot and another state officer from a ranch country.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it.
I think my friend Rex that I was talking to up in Alaska, I think we've also got an Alaska state officer coming on from a yak farm.
Yes, Matea has yaks.
Matea has yaks. We are excited to hear about yaks.
That's so cool.
So I don't know. And I appreciate this. I'm going to go to Sam Johns next. Sam is one of our Pontiac FFA members. It's really been instrumental. Any of the graphics you see promoting this event are done by Sam. But I think that Sam's had some of that excitement as we've been able to make some connections with folks like you guys to make our, I don't know, kind of crazy idea that's starting to grow here, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, well, thank you much, Emma. You are welcome to stay on here. We are 10 minutes past 11, I believe, and I'm said that I'm going to keep this room open till 1 just to make sure our tech's working. So you're welcome to stay as long as you want. But also thank you for checking in and making sure it works. And if you do stick around, I'll probably throw more questions and just prod at you a little because I haven't visited with you in a while. But
Sounds great.
Sam's your tech working for you?
It is. Obviously, I am not in my spot either. I'll be at our farm. We have 7 show pigs currently that we are feeding out, and hopefully we'll get to go to some shows this summer. Definitely, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, I'll be able to go to a lot of shows with, I also play softball, and with that not happening, that opens up the show world a little more, and yeah, I'm excited.
Have you done any of these online pig shows yet?
We have not. Those are probably more for December pigs. We don't really have any December pigs. More of ours are January, February, so not quite with us yet. But if that's in the near future, it might be.
Well, very good. Do you, well, thank you very much. Thank you for those graphics. Well, I was gonna talk, but I think we can say it right here on the call. I did get confirmed for Blue Eye Bakery is gonna join us there
Okay.
for Streeter. And I think it's gonna be both Aaliyah and her sister Helena.
Awesome.
And so they are confirmed. I also, and you kind of heard me say this to Emma here a second ago, and I added it into our, the Google form where people were kind of entering stations, but I haven't put it into the schedule. Ashlyn Oshner from Colorado is going to go live from their cattle ranch. I believe she is the state FFA president for Colorado right now. I'm gonna go live from ranch country. There was one cancellation today, and I've changed around the schedule just a little bit, and I'll let you know what that is. But I did put Mr. Hamner, my friend Rex here, his student Joe that you were just hearing talk about trapping. I did kind of slide him into the schedule and moved one around there based on the cancellation. All right.
Sounds awesome.
So, yeah, keep up the good work on that. And do you have any questions for me while we're sitting here face to face visiting? I know we've been texting a lot here lately, and that's okay.
I think I'm good.
I'm excited. Love the graphics. I'm excited. We have, and I say that, I'm going to transition. As we talked about state officers, Colin White has joined us here. He is another state FFA officer here in Illinois, is going to join us that day. I have to harass Colin because he has excelled and achieved here in FFA, and his FFA advisor is very Pontiac connected in Pontiac, and we're proud of him here, and Mr. Miller. So Colin, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing swell. It's always great to talk to Mr. Faber.
So yeah, Colin is, and I don't know if you can see on the Zoom, we are currently live on both Facebook and YouTube. Also joining us, you're one of your officer friends and teammates that you probably haven't got to see live for quite a while. Emma is still on here. She just went live from the feedlot or from her home. So yeah, what are you going to be talking about on Friday, Colin?
Well, I look forward to talking a little bit about specialty crops, especially right now. I'm actually sitting in the middle of a popcorn field that hasn't popped up yet. So hopefully by this Friday, we can see some small popcorn plants, but talking about specialty crops, pumpkins, green beans, and a little bit of all that.
So I know that this is gonna come up on Friday, but I've got to ask, so are you doing this for like a roadside stand? Are you doing this for yourself, or you're big into the specialty crop business? Where do you sell your stuff?
So actually, maybe I can get out and see it. So like back that way is Weaver Popcorn. So that's where we it's a big elevator, and they only deal with popcorn. So we kind of deal through them signing a contract about saying like, yes, we'll grow some popcorn for you. And then from there, they go ship it all over the world. I think we took a tour there last year when Taylor Harkey was doing chapter visits with us, and they were getting ready to ship popcorn out to Saudi Arabia, which I just thought was the coolest thing. So we don't necessarily deal with local people as much for specialty crops, but our crops get shipped all over the world, all over the United States, getting ready for movie theaters in California or for people out in Saudi Arabia.
Well, that is wild. And I think about, as we talk about moving stuff like that, right here in Livingston County, just one of the local grain elevators, they load a lot of shipping containers with soybeans. And I know that one of my former students that works at one, he sent me a picture the other day because they were loading a shipping container that was earmarked and is headed to Vietnam. And they've been loading soybeans to go to Vietnam like mad around here. So it's crazy to think that, just like what you mentioned there.
Yeah, crazy thing about all the connections and how agriculture is all tied around the world. I mean, being like one person middle of central Illinois, not knowing anybody from, say, Vietnam or somewhere like that, but knowing our crops are going all across the world to help people everywhere, feed people everywhere.
Very much so. So no, that is great. Your tech's working. Any questions? Any questions for me?
Not that I have any at the time. Thank you so much, Mr. Faber.
Well, we appreciate you joining. And like I said, you can stick around here for as long as you'd like. I'm going to stay live for a while because part of my check on the tech is to make sure that it holds up for a long time streaming, not just the first 3 minutes. I learned that when I first tried this out, that I was doing really good. And then all of a sudden at about 9-10 minutes, it would start kicking me off. So I think we're finding the tech, and if this works out, then I might start doing more creative things like this, because I just whether we're on quarantine or not, I like visiting with you folks. And I say that, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna pick on Rex's brain for a moment. Colin, Mr. Hamner is a retired ag teacher from Wyoming. He taught for just shy over 3 decades, I believe, and then decided to start a second career in Eastern Alaska, teaching at up there known as the Villages, right, Rex?
Yes, we are in the Village. I never thought that I would be in a third world country inside the US, because that's what it's like up here. We're a little different because we're on the road system. Until you get to Alaska, you don't understand when they talk about the road system, but I can go to Fairbanks, it's 4 hours away, or we're 6 hours from Anchorage, 90 minutes from the Yukon border. So I'm way interior, but there are most of the villages up here you have to fly into. So it does make a big difference.
Well, and I am grateful that you had your truck when I was up there 2 summers ago, and we got to take our adventure up the ice road highway, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Do you still have that picture of what? No gas or services for 450 miles or something?
And the one that said, leave your lights on for
Right.
the next or the stops, the speed limit that said speed limit this for the next 420 miles. Yeah. As if you could go that fast if you wanted to.
That's right.
Have you been back?
I did. I took a group up there last summer because I took the AF&R case, and
Gotcha.
I took a group up there and showed them that same area. We didn't go up to the Yukon crossing. We weren't playing dueling banjos as much as we did with your bunch.
It was a crazy time. Yeah, no, I appreciate that a great deal, and I learned a lot about the adventure. So yeah, and I'm excited. So you said that you're a student with this trap lines, and when we think about trap lines down here, we think about some raccoons, and maybe there was when my daughter and I were out adventuring in the pasture, we saw a dead mink here a couple of weeks ago. But normally we don't even see stuff like that. And so what are the things that they're trapping there?
Lynx is the big one they go after. And then marten, they'll trap marten. Sometimes they can set a wolf
I'm not
trap.
familiar with martens. Is a marten like a weasel and a mink?
Yes. It's a little bugger. He's about 12 inches long, 12 to 14 inches long, more like a weasel. Their pelts are, and Joe would have the better numbers on Friday, but their pelts I think are worth like 50 to 75, where a good lynx is 200. So
Holy buckets.
yeah, he's got before Christmas he had like 100 lynx pelts on boards up in their shop area up on the wall. So he does like his trapping.
Well, very good. Since since Emma and Colin are still with me, I'm going to bounce for a second here. I feel like I'm moderating but I'm going to go. Emma and Colin are current state officers. Things have been thrown into just craziness here. What are some of the plans that you guys have or FFA related here over the next, over the next month or so? Anything that you would like to share with anybody who happens to be watching, which I don't know that anyone is. I'm just curious, not trying to put you on the spot.
Evan, do you want to take it? Because you said you'd take it during the meeting today. So
Sure. Yeah. Colin and I were just talking last night with the rest of our team. That's kind of why he's joking about that. We've been doing kind of Operation Rising Sun on our Illinois FFA Facebook page. Obviously, may have seen it. So for the next month, we are actually kind of enlisted to help with promoting the 2020 census. So we are now tackling this new job of not really making as much FFA content, and we're going to start making some fun videos and trying to get awards, I guess, to chapters, which will help us promote the census. So that's kind of like our random little thing, I guess, along with still just kind of we're figuring out how we're going to hold a state convention this summer. And in the next month, we should actually have more guidance on how we can keep planning that. Did I miss anything, Colin?
I think you just about covered everything. Yeah, mainly starting to get the ball rolling on what to do for state convention and promoting the census, hitting the rural areas and making sure all of our friends across the state are filling out the census.
Yeah, totally random, but
yeah, two totally different things.
Fun new little project we get.
No, I think that's great. That's a worthwhile cause that does matter, and there's a lot of reach that you guys have in those parts of the state. So I think that's really good. And you know what? In one hand, you get to look at the challenge that's out in front of you, but you guys also get to create something that no one else has ever got to create. There's a certain level of excitement that has to come with that, isn't there?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, and it's definitely going to be an adventure because honestly, we really don't know how everything is going to look yet. So we're kind of we get creative freedom, I guess. We're hoping we can be back together here in a month or so, but if not, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff from our homes. So we'll see what it looks like. We're excited to show everybody, but we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do, I guess.
So I appreciate all of that. I guess as I update, and I am watching both of our platforms a little, I know we've got some other folks that are joining us. This is just a trial run of our technology today. I appreciate those that are still on with me here, and Emma Freeburn and Colin White and Rex Hamner. And we've got a couple of, as I said, a couple of state FFA officers from Illinois and a good friend in the ag teaching world from up in Alaska. That is kind of joining us today because we are going to have a virtual ag extravaganza live on both Pontiac FFA Facebook and Pontiac FFA YouTube. That's going to come live on Friday. We're working on that schedule. We're kind of trying it out. We're going to put a schedule out there for everyone to follow. I say this, and it's kind of exciting. It's kind of crazy and kind of exciting. I appreciate the enthusiasm of you guys to join us because we're going to have Pontiac FFA members. We're going to have FFA members, state officers from a lot of places across the country. I think with a confirmation today, I am expecting us to have people join us from 5 different time zones on Friday just to show some different things. And some of it still has to come together, and that's okay. But even if we get, get anywhere close to all the stations it looks like we might have, this is going to be just a wild thing to show a wide variety of agriculture. With that, I'm going to go back to Rex for a second there fella. What's the biggest, I know we talked a little bit about the difference just in how people perceive things in the villages compared to Wyoming. What's been the biggest change in your mind as you've moved all the way up to the North Country?
Getting used to the all night, the all day darkness, and then the all day daylight is probably the hardest thing to deal with. But just trying to change the mindset of the kids, because when I interviewed, the superintendent made the comment that the demographics was 40-60, 40% Caucasian, 60% Native American. And when I got here because I deal with the entire high school and the entire middle school, which takes about 95 kids between those grades. I had 5 Caucasian kids. And so I asked the superintendent one day where he learned math, because and it's funny because I asked him if he was buying or selling lambs. And he just gave me the weird look. He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, where'd you learn math? Because, you know, if you're buying, it's different than if you're selling." And he shook his head, but he goes, "Okay, so what are you getting at?" I says, 5 white kids doesn't make 40%. He goes, "Oh yeah, we've had a big influx or whatever of Native Americans coming in, but more or less it was the Caucasian kids were just graduating and leaving." But the hard thing is that up here, the Athabascans don't. One is you've got to be here quite a while to be accepted. And I don't think I will be here long enough to be accepted as a knowledge base or an elder, which, you know, small towns, that makes sense. But then being from the outside and being Caucasian, I stand out pretty good. And then, you know, there's not many cowboy hats in Tok, Alaska, like maybe 2, and they're both in my living room. So yeah, that doesn't help me blend in with the locals very well. But they just, they don't, for generations, they have not looked at an education the same way that we do in the outside world. And being trained in Wyoming and living there or teaching there for 33 years, it makes it really difficult to reach the kids because I'm not used to it. And so you just have to change your perspective. And so basically on a regular basis, I am trying to tie all of my lessons into the Athabascan culture and relate it to stuff that they're familiar with already. You know, fish wheels, subsistence hunting for moose and caribou, and trapping and forestry for firewood. So it's, you know, you're taking simple things that we take for granted in Wyoming that I'm having to put a whole different twist on. The welding, if I can tie it into fixing their fish wheel or their dog sled or something that they buy into it a little better. So that's probably the biggest struggle is learning the Athabascan culture and then relating all the lessons to that.
That is absolutely crazy. I have to, I'm going to come back to that in just a second. I have to throw this to Colin because I just saw that Mr. Miller has joined watching this on Facebook Live. So I have to give you the chance to do a shout out to your ag teacher.
I was gonna say he just called me, so shout out to Mr. Miller for trying to call me, but also watching this great presentation.
So now he'll know why you didn't pick up.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt bad at first, but I'm like, he'll figure out a way. He'll manage.
I think he'll be just fine. So I continue to say that, and Colin and Emma and Rex, all 3 of you, if at any point you have to, you bounce off, no, completely get it. And if you want to stay for a little while, that's great too. And I'll probably keep throwing questions at you if you do. I am going to throw one back to Rex here. You mentioned the Native Alaskans or the Athabascans. Are there other tribes? I think that I said that, other tribes or cultures, or is all of the natives around Tok Athabascan?
We do have some Eskimos that have moved over this direction. In fact, I had a half Eskimo student for the last 2 years, a junior, senior, and then I had one as an 8th grader that they came from the west and the north, the Eskimo country. So there's like 5, I believe there's 5 different tribes up here, your Eskimos, Inupiats, Athabascans, and then 2 down south along the coastal region that I'll butcher their names because they don't pronounce them like I would. So I'm not even going to try.
Still doing a lot of learning 2 years in up there, aren't you?
Oh, major. So you can teach an old dog new tricks because I am learning them. One question before we move along. Are you going to be taping Friday so I can use it in class next year?
Absolutely. And actually, well, number one, I think so. And that goes back to the technology here. Right now, my understanding is we are live on Facebook, is that it's automatically kind of recording this to our Facebook page. I believe the same thing is happening to our YouTube page while we're YouTube live. My first experience last week, Mr. Bain and I, we just went live on the 2 different platforms here for a few minutes, and it seems to have recorded and stuck there. Plus, I am going to be recording today. I am not recording on Zoom internally, but I am going to record on Zoom internally on Friday as well. And I don't know, I'm kind of figuring this out. I had to do some research to find a streaming platform that would let me go live to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. I'm not even sure I understand what I just said, but I clicked a lot of stuff and kind of linked them together. And so my other thought is I'm hoping that if I have a student that likes technology, likes videos, I might have them, seeing how Friday goes, maybe at some point kind of even take that and break it down so that every segment is its own YouTube video on our platform for this next fall. If that works out, that sounds like something that could be a nice SAE for a student, or something that might be a nice leadership project, however we look at it. So that was a long answer to the short answer of yes, at least I think so.
Okay, as long as technology is working, you're gonna have it taped. Good.
Well, and that's one of the biggest things. I've long wondered about our abilities to utilize technology in these platforms in order to do neat things like this. And if we're going to look for a silver lining of the system that we're in and what we've been forced to do here through the COVID quarantines, I think that maybe this is something that can be real positive that can come out of it for us. I've even thought, I've thought that same way. I've done guest speakers there in my classes before. And, if these platforms work, then it's not just about guest speaking that day. It's about how do we connect that and be able to share that broadly. And hopefully these technology tools will be things that can do that.
Well, and the nice thing too is from you taking this jump next school year, even though we do have a 3-hour difference, we can tie together during class time, and like maybe your Ag 1 class could talk with one of my classes and we could have communication back and forth and let the kids meet each other also.
I am so glad you said that, because I absolutely want to do that. And I think that I have a way here in like Zoom with the platform and account that I have where we can maybe even do some breakout rooms for students, and whether it's even our classrooms or whether it's letting students break out and visit. I think that network, and as I look at Colin and Emma that are up there still that have joined on with us, and I think about the networks that they've formed as state officers, I think that network of connection, and it's the connection of people across all sorts of geographic and demographic boundaries to try and see, hey, the ag education, agriculture, FFA are a place to meet. So I'm going to throw it out there and let one of them chime in on that, is what they think and what they found in their experience. So I haven't picked on Emma for a little while, so I'm going to throw it to her first. I know that Colin just unmuted. I'm going to go to Emma first, Colin.
It's kind of fun that you say that, because I'm going to actually relate it back to our chapter visits that we did this year. And it kind of ties into this a lot, because we talked about perspectives. And one big thing that I know I myself talked about when I went into classrooms is when we went to a state officer summit back last July, we met state officers from all across the country and learned all about how agriculture was so different for all of them. And we were able to take that back into our chapter visits and talk to students all across the state about how when we look outside, we see, corn and bean fields, or Colin sees a popcorn field. But if we go to like California, they're seeing very different things, or even Florida, like all over the place, they see different agriculture. And so that's something that we've talked about and focused on a lot this year. So it's kind of fun that you bring that up. I'll let Colin add on to whatever he wants to that too.
I think Emma covered a lot of it. I mean, that was something I hit like a big thing during chapter visits was talking about like you think, well, just within our own state, how different all the types of agriculture are, where my county versus where your county's at. One of my teammates, Lane Harvey, talks about oil. I didn't know oil existed in Illinois until we started the state officer year. So not only across the country, but within our own state, how different agriculture can be, and being able to open that up to all of our students. And not only does it bring a different sense of like how wide agriculture is, but it can give people a different idea of like what kind of careers they're going to go into, where they think like, oh, that is cool how the popcorn company or popcorn industry works, or how oil industry works, and maybe even exploring a job or career within that. So it does open up a whole new wide variety of things for students to look into and learn about and get interested in. Yeah, that was pretty much it. The other thing I did think about though too, using these new technologies, I don't see snow days happening much anymore and getting the entire day off.
You know, I laugh at that, and some of my students want to talk about it. I never cared much for snow days when I was in school, and I think that Emma will at least empathize with or connect with this, because I remember snow days meaning that meant we had a long day of thawing out water tanks and hauling snow out of cattle pens in the place where I grew up. Does that sound about right, Emma?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely did a lot more work on snow days at home than we ever did in school. I think we kind of dreaded them actually.
Yeah, I think about that, and I think about bucking hay bales out in the pasture where you're sinking into snow all the way up to your waist as you're trying to carry hay bales across them. And that's my memories of snow days, not sitting inside with a hot cup of cocoa.
Well, and we always happen to have our calves, on the very coldest days of the year. So anytime we had a snow day, we had a newborn calf that we had to try and get up into the garage and warm up. And it was always just a mess. I can't remember a good snow day where I just sat inside and did nothing.
So, nope, I fully understand that thought process. So I'm gonna pick on you two for just a second on my trivia world. With Colin talking about the diversity of ag just here in Illinois, what crops is Illinois the #1 producers of?
I know we're number one producers of popcorn. I do know that.
Oh, we are and that adds a different one. I did not know that. We're the #1 for popcorn?
Because I know Mason County is the popcorn capital of the world. I'm pretty sure we're the #1 producer of popcorn in the world. And isn't horseradish on that list too?
Horseradish is on that list. And I believe the horseradish down in if I believe that this is correct, down in the greater Maroa Forsyth area and then down in Madison County are the two big hotbeds for horseradish. Well, I'm going to throw out, does Emma know the other one that I might be thinking of?
I don't think I do.
Oh, there's one over in Colin's neck of the woods here. Not all the way over there, but close.
I don't think I do. I knew the popcorns or the pumpkin, excuse me.
Oh, there it is. The pumpkins.
I thought he said pumpkins.
No, he said popcorn.
Okay. Yeah, I knew pumpkins were the other one.
Like the two things I bring up somewhat frequently in the office.
Yes. He has prepared me for this moment because that's all we ever seem to talk about.
That is commonly a trivia question somewhere along the lines when I've taught crop science, really anything in my class. If my students at Pontiac don't know that it's popcorn or pumpkins and horseradish, now I'll have to add popcorn to that list there, thanks to Colin. But did you know that? Even here in Illinois, we normally think about corn and soybeans, and I think that we did actually end up as the top producer of soybeans here in the last couple of years, but I know we kind of float in and out of that. But there's some trivia for you too there, Rex, is that Illinois known for horseradish?
I did not know that.
Neither do most Illinoisans.
So what's Alaska #1 in? Just out of my own curiosity.
Wow. large pumpkins and squash. I know that. We've got the Guinness Book of World Record because constant daylight.
Kind of jealous of the pumpkin thing. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm not certain if they even keep an ag stat like that for Alaska, just because our agriculture is so diverse and it's more of an ag-related area, you know, with the fisheries and the hunting, but there is considerable amount of cattle grown down in the Palmer area, which is our ag center where our state fair is at. I would probably say cattle and grass hay, but the hay up here is just pretty much straw because it just does grow all the time and doesn't set the carbohydrates aren't turned into sugars, and so there's not a lot of nutrients in it.
So I'm throwing another shout out as we've had some other people that have joined on and off. We are just doing a trial run here. We're preparing for our virtual ag extravaganza on Friday. We'll be going live on Friday, and we're just kind of having a chat here. Friend of mine, Mr. Rex Hamner, who teaches ag in Tok, Alaska, and then a couple of members of our Illinois State Officer team that are still on here. Mr. Colin White and Miss Emma Freebaron are both also, all are going to be live. Well, I don't know if Mr. Hamner is going to be live himself. One of his students is going to be live talking about his trap line on Friday. And we're going to be kind of live on Friday. So this is kind of a trial run. I'm impressed. I'm been live for over 40 minutes and all of my technology is not glitching on me yet. So that is a nice sign for what we're going to have. So yeah, we're excited for that. And Rex, I'm going to say this. I'm pretty sure that Alaska has to be the leader of reindeer production in terms of agriculture.
Well, yeah, but that's really it's a hard one to understand because if we raise reindeer, the way I understand it is you have to be a native Alaskan or Native American, but you have to get your reindeer, it's got to be a Canadian genetics. It can't be the genetics of the because all reindeer is domesticated caribou is what they are. And so I've heard that you have to have a Canadian genetic line to raise them. I have looked into, I asked my daughter if she wanted to add reindeer to our Columbia sheep operation in Wyoming. And so she went to the brand inspector and was talking to him about it. And he says, well, you know, he never can catch up with Santa Claus to have him sign off on brand inspections. So probably not going to work down there, but it's, the reindeer are actually smaller than caribou. They're a little bit smaller, but I know of some reindeer farms. And so, yeah, they would have to, we had our state president from last year, Cody, that was his project. He worked at North Pole at the Santa House, and he was in the reindeer farm there, but he only had like a year and a half of records on it because he just barely started the job. And so that really hurt him for a national award just because he didn't have the records for specialty animal. But
he was still a national finalist with his reindeer, wasn't he?
I believe he was. Yeah.
So I've got to tell you this. Well, when we were up there in Fairbanks, we were right there, the University Farm, and I think Colin and Emma will appreciate this as well. So the University of Fairbanks is their land grant institution, and their university farm there in Fairbanks, they had the livestock was reindeer and musk ox. And that's what they had on there. And out at the farm that we went and a couple of us went and visited, they had reindeer and musk ox, and that's where their veterinarian students or pre-vet students would kind of work and get their lab equipment on. So yeah, well, that makes one of the excitement. I don't know, but yeah, it was, we got to go out to, which was funny, North Pole, Alaska, the town is actually south of Fairbanks. And so, can I borrow a muskie, buddy? I got to introduce you to somebody, so come over here. And so we actually got to go to North Pole, which is all decked out for for Christmas theme, but they had it was actually south of Fairbanks. And I say that it was kind of a trip. I got to pet some reindeer, and I got it. Oh, come over here, buddy. Oh, Eli, there is a friend of mine who's from Alaska that's on the call right now. You want to say hi? He has started to watch Dr. Oakley on the National Geographic, and his new favorite animal is the muskox.
Outstanding.
And so he brought I kind of texted to have him come up here and be able to show you that, Rex. I thought you would appreciate that. He is a fan of the muskox. Colin and Emma, if you haven't ever seen a muskox, you need to YouTube not just the muskox, but you need to YouTube where they are shearing the muskox, because they are known for fiber is what they are for. And they have quick kivot. Did I just say that right? I believe the hair is called kivot, and it is, it's quite a deal. So Eli, can you see, there's my buddy Rex, that he lives up in Alaska, not too far from Dr. Oakley.
I can see the top of his head.
Yeah, he's being shy. If you're not familiar with Dr. Oakley, Rex, it's a Yukon vet that she covers a whole big area there, comes into Alaska as well as the Yukon Territory.
There's a few of them that basically they've got their pilot's license and they fly bush planes around because dog sledding is a major means of travel up here. And so they'll fly into the villages and do the vaccinations and everything for the dogs. So, hello.
Can you say hi, buddy?
Yeah.
You're gonna be shy. So yeah.
I have seen some of Dr. Oakley's shows and where they're flying around and visiting the different villages.
That's a part I think we've watched the whole series, or we've seen every episode, haven't you? And now we're watching some of them again. You really like when the muskox chases after the car, don't you? But I had shown him. I showed him some pictures from when we went out to the farm there in Fairbanks and got to see some up close. Which that kind of goes. I am excited to have Mathea join us and be able to show some yaks. I'm it's going to be a nice little change. We've got some of our local Pontiac students that actually have some pigs and some cattle and some sheep, as well as Emma there can go fly from the feedlot, but we're going to show a little diversity, I guess, and what it looks like somewhere else as well. Looking
over your spreadsheet, you've got quite the diversity going, so that's a good thing.
Well, that's what we're trying for. I kind of look at it, and I know that we've got a few folks that have followed along with this live here that we're looking forward to our virtual ag extravaganza there on Friday. And our hope, and I've told everybody, I said, I want you to gear this as if we're talking to our elementary students. And I think about my two little ones that live right here in my house. That's kind of what our audience is, but I don't know how broad it's going to go. And we're going to show people what agriculture is out there and see kind of a lot of variety. And that's good for my own students as well. You mentioned wanting to use it in maybe an intro class there, Rex. I'm definitely going to include it in mine as well. And I say that I just got checking my phone as I'm having people text in trying to figure out their technology too. So,
well, FFA has been doing it for quite a while of trying to lose the stigmatism of cows, plows, and sows, and just the diversity of agriculture. And the kids, I can relate it a little better up here to the kids because we have a 30 by 100 greenhouse that I was given the directive by the superintendent of we need to subsidize the school lunch program. And so when I started on, they used to let it freeze over from November through February. And I just give them the weird look like the dog gives you when you've done something stupid and cock my head to the side and they go, what? I go, that's when greenhouses excel, is in the winter time. Well, it's dark. I said, then put a headlamp on. But we light the greenhouse up. I'll send some pictures I did a presentation at ACTE last year on it, and we light the greenhouse up. We put 16-hour daylight, 16 hours of daylight with artificial lighting through the wintertime. And we're eating vine ripe tomatoes in February in Tok, Alaska, with it dark outside. And so the kids are slowly coming around that, maybe this is not such a bad thing to be, dealing with this agriculture stuff. And then we have a 12 by 30 hydroponics room that we grow the lettuce in now. So our greenhouse is pretty much just fruiting crops, and we grow our greens in the hydroponics room. And we'll harvest about 20 pounds of lettuce a week for the lunch program, which takes in Tok and 5 other villages. So they're starting to buy into it a little bit.
All right, so this is me, and I've tried to grow tomatoes on our hydroponics unit inside with artificial light. How do you get them to pollinate?
Just naturally. I haven't had a problem with it. I'm not going around pollinating them. They do it themselves. We do have a fan in there, which helps with a little bit of wind action, and that helps it. But I have in the greenhouse, we don't have a problem with it. And then in our hydroponics room, I've got 9 plants in Dutch buckets, and I've got fruit on 6 of the 9 right now. And I haven't done anything but just make sure they got their nutrients.
So you're not even, they're just self-pollinating. You're not introducing bees. You're not introducing any other critters of any kind?
No, the only other things that we've got in there is we get aphids in on our lettuce. And so we've got ladybugs in on the aphids, and that's the only insects that are in there.
We need to talk. I can't figure out how to get my tomato. I know that I need to learn more about the lighting and timing the lighting on them and using that as a manipulating factor. I have just not been all that successful at getting, I thought that my biggest barrier was the fact that I didn't have any pollinators in there.
Yeah, because we go around with our squashes, because we grow zucchini, spaghetti, crookneck, and then our cucumbers. We'll go around with Q-tips or with plant parts, and we'll pollinate those guys just so we don't get end rot. But the tomatoes, they just take off and go. So it might just be the daylight and the intensity.
I would sure like to think that I can fake daylight as well as they can in Alaska when they have no sun.
Yeah. Well, it was comical because somebody came by and they were talking about, and they go, yeah, to be a good educator, you got to think outside the box. And I just shook my head, and he goes, what? I go, where's the box? I got no idea where it's at. I'm so far out of it, and right.
We left the box a long time ago.
Yep.
I mean, I was feeling really proud of myself when I first started doing hydroponics that I could grow basil after basil. And then I had a ag teacher who's like, you can grow basil on a rock. And I say, there takes away my self-confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. Basil will grow right there next to lichen. So don't worry.
So no, yeah, it's good. I'm going to throw out my other clip here. We are currently live on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. I've got a couple of good friends, colleagues, FFA members that have joined us here. I'm kind of leaving this room open. This is our test run. On Friday of this week, we're going to have a virtual ag extravaganza, and we're going to be live starting at 10 a.m. We've got stations that are going to run every 10 minutes. I see a couple of people that have joined on here. Don't know if they are still on, but I look at a couple of the folks that have joined over the last few minutes here, and I know that they have some small children. That's what this is going to be geared for, is for some elementary kids, just like our traditional ag extravaganza was. So I hope that you can join in. I hope that you can kind of spread the word a little bit. It appears that our technology is working. I see another one of our good ag teachers in Illinois makes us a former member of Pontiac FFA, but now teaching at Normal Community High School, Miss Harris. she has joined in and saying hello. So I'm saying hello and calling her out on the live feed. She actually helped me trial run some of this technology a couple weeks ago when I was really struggling, but I think we've started to get it figured out. We have been live now for about an hour and still going, and it seems like we're feeding the way that it should. But I'm gonna throw. I think I'm gonna throw to either Colin or Emma. I don't care which one of you takes this one first. It's gonna be a question. Colin starts laughing whenever I say that. So I'm gonna. What's the most exciting or best thing that you've learned this year as a state FFA officer?
That's a hard question, so I'm going to pass it to Emma first, if you don't mind.
Well, I don't mind.
Oh, that wasn't very nice of you, Colin. I thought you were going to take it when you unmuted yourself. I guess, honestly, you know, we've talked a lot about the diversity in agriculture, and I'm just going to go back to that because I think, honestly, in all of our travels, that's probably just the biggest thing is the diversity across our entire state that I've noticed, especially on chapter visits. We went and we visited some of the southernmost parts of the state, and my last week of chapter visits was in Section 8 up in Chicago. And it was a very, very different experience for me, seeing how different agriculture is for those students who live up in the suburbs and in the city, especially coming from a farm background like I do. They do a lot more horticulture and just kind of working with plants, and they have some small animals, and just seeing how different life is. It's kind of honestly a culture shock, I guess, for myself and the other two teammates that went with me. Colin didn't, but he can still share to some of his experiences. I know he had the same thing, just meeting all the different people and seeing how different people are in different parts of the state. Colin, you're up, bud.
Thanks for giving me a little time to think. Like, I would totally echo what Emma said about like seeing the different perspectives that agriculture has. I didn't get to visit Section 8 as much, but I got to go to almost every corner of the state. I got to go to somewhere that bordered every bordering state of Illinois, so that was really cool. But I think the other cool thing that we saw was how much like FFA really does have an impact for like members, teachers, alumni, everybody across the state of Illinois. And personally, I mean, that has influenced me to start considering going into teaching. I know Emma can attest to that a little bit, and I think my teammate Gage can also go talk about that a little bit. But it's just so exciting to go and see FFA members who are passionate about FFA. And like during those chapter visits, when you're talking about FFA, one of the questions this year that we asked during our visit was, what do you think of when you think of FFA? And seeing people put up like friends, family, opportunities, drawing really bad pictures of their ag teachers. It was also eye-opening, and just it's really impactful, but you also get to learn so much about what FFA does and how that really carries through people's lives, and it really does push people forward into their future careers and inspire people a little bit, I think, along the way too. Thanks, Emma, for giving me a minute to think.
Oh, I thought those are some great answers, and as you think about it, I would agree. And sometimes even here, as we look in Illinois, and I'm gonna build on this for a moment. First off, I talk about the diversity. We talk about diversity of crops. Colin or Emma, have either of you been to the rice producing areas of Illinois?
I didn't know we had that much rice in Illinois.
I have to echo that too. No, I haven't.
So there's not a lot, but if you get down in the very southwest corner of Illinois, actually, I believe it's mostly in the Shawnee High School District, right there along the Mississippi River, kind of across from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. There are some rice fields in that Mississippi River bottom ground. So, you know, I love that. There's another fun trivia fact for both of you as you think about Illinois. But it's not just Illinois, it's everywhere, right? I mean, and it's kind of like what Mr. Hamner was there talking about, what Alaska looks like and how you help people to look at things a little bit different. You guys both mentioned the Chicagoland area as far as some of it. And what we're seeing is some really great growth in some urban areas in Illinois. Some areas that are very urban. And in fact, one of our probably the new chapters that are growing at the most exponential rate right now are actually a couple of programs in Decatur, Illinois. A couple of Decatur public high schools that came on a couple years ago and have just been growing really fast and engaging a lot of young people in agriculture. And I think that what you see is you see that kind of across the country. Even there's a lot of great places that are non-traditional in terms of they don't have production ag necessarily right there present. And I would even say all the way out there talking about Mr. Hamner is out there in Tok, Alaska, not a place that you think of for production agriculture, but people eat and people want access to food. And so helping them understand where their food comes from gets to be pretty important that way, doesn't it?
And I would agree with what you said. And I think you might, throwing out more trivia for you, according to that last Illinois Ag Ed report, you look at that, the population of Ag Ed students in the state of Illinois is becoming, it's not a bad thing that less and less of that percent is coming truly from a farm background, but that number growing from urban and city areas for a population of ag students in the state of Illinois is incredible. Is it 16%, Emma? Correct me if I'm wrong. 16% of ag students now in the state of Illinois come from those urban areas. So just being able to see how large that percentage is growing is so nice and so exciting, but also seeing the traditional rural members and farm members still staying engaged in FFA.
Yeah, and I'll add just like, I guess, a little bit to that because Colin's right. Both of us studied the Ag Ed report really hard here a little while ago. And honestly, I couldn't tell you the exact numbers in the 2021 just because it's been so recently put out. But yeah, just we love to use those statistics because people don't really realize that we do have more urban ag students than we do have students who live on a farm. Not necessarily rural students, but those students that come from a farm, it's only 9 or 11%, I'm pretty sure. And
9%, yep.
Yep, it's a crazy statistic to kind of think about. I mean, both of us come from farms, so we do have that production ag background. But one of the big things we've gotten the opportunity to do this year is to learn from all those students that don't, and to expand our knowledge because we don't know everything there is to know about agriculture. And so it's been a great learning opportunity for us to see all those different sides of it as well.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that gets me a little bit even more excited for what we're going to do here on Friday. As we talk about the virtual ag extravaganza that we're going to go live with and look at the people that we're engaging and look at those sides of agriculture that we have. I know that, about an hour ago now that I look at the clock, one of our students who doesn't come from a traditional farming background is going to go live from a pretty large garden that she does with her family in terms of raising some vegetables and raising some food. We've got another student that she lives in Pontiac, and her grandpa and her family is somewhat involved on a farm, but she's going to talk a little bit about some farming approach and some safety that goes with it. But she also does live in town. And as we look at a number of the students and a number of those that we have, is what's it look like? What does agriculture look like? And I say that is that we have got to see those experiences, and through ag education, hopefully preparing some people for some careers. I think that's where I get the most excited as an ag teacher, is helping people see what opportunities are out there. And now looking at students here within my own program, but also across the state and country, that because they got involved in ag in high school, have now gone on to a career that has related, and maybe it's in the world of food science. If you, on a sidebar, if you haven't had the chance to really explore food science, it's pretty cool. The development of new products, the research and development, the going out and marketing. I know that we've got one of our alumni members, one of our former students, who works for the PepsiCo company, and she's in the beverage distribution and sales side of it. But as you think about that, take the different carbonated soft drinks and all of the corn product that goes into that and all of the ingredients. I think about Illinois. This is another fun fact for Rex. Are you ready? The Tootsie Roll. Nothing more Illinois ag in my mind than the Tootsie Roll. It is an Illinois food processing company. It is located on the south side of Chicago, I believe, made from Illinois soy, Illinois company. And so please eat Tootsie Rolls. We love them here. I think about that a little bit in our food processing world. actually helped one of our history teachers who wanted to do something that kind of a project that looked at ag in Illinois. And I started talking, if you avoid talking about food processing, you're missing a huge part. Such companies, and I've been, one of the coolest tours we went on up in Chicagoland was getting to go to the Kraft Foods Research and Development Lab, kind of on the northwest side, as well as the Chicago Board of Trade just downtown. But you look at some of the great food processors and agriculture processors headquartered here in Illinois, actually in my hometown area, not too far from where Emma's at. They just built a flour mill, a big beast of a flour mill right off the rail line, to bring wheat in by rail and hopefully grow some in northern Illinois as well. But a processor that takes that right into food grade flour. And I think that's kind of neat. You haven't got a chance to tour that, have you, Emma?
I have not yet, no. But yeah, very interesting. And I want to at some point. It's on the list of things that I need to be able to do. So yeah.
So did you know that about the Tootsie Roll, Rex, or am I throwing Illinois facts your way too?
No, that is new to me. So if I'm eating a Tootsie Roll and I get picked up for speeding, is that a reduction on my fine? Illinois.
I don't know if that's how it works. Illinois likes to have their charging of things, but
okay.
I know that, and I think that over time, but the Tootsie Roll plant still goes strong up there, and they're in the southern side of Chicago, south side of Cook County there, I believe. And I've never been to that plant. I'm pretty sure that's where it's at, but very much so an Illinois soy product, and we love our soybeans here in Illinois.
See, and I didn't realize that Tootsie Rolls were made from soybeans.
Yep, the soybean oil is a great thing, which actually you have one of the largest, I believe Decatur, Illinois, keys itself as the soy capital of the world. It is the corporate headquarters for Archer Daniels Midland, or at least it's the flagship town. I believe they moved their corporate offices actually up to Chicago just a few years ago. But if you've ever been to Decatur, and they've got the big processors there and a couple of other companies, Tate and Lyle being one of them as well, based out of Decatur, is soy capital of the world. So Colin's got his popcorn capital of the world over there in Mason County. Not too far from Colin, you've got the town of Morton that keys itself as the pumpkin capital of the world. Decatur likes to call themselves the soy capital of the world. If you go a little bit, or basically straight north of Colin and straight west of Emma, you get to Henry County and Kewanee that like to key themselves as the pork capital of the world. A lot of pigs over in that part of the world, especially traditionally and historically. I know that there's some states with changes in livestock production that are larger pork producers than what Illinois is now. But if you get to talking to folks over in the greater Kewanee and Henry County area, there's a lot of pride and history and family heritage in the swine industry. So we've got a lot of those, and I know there's also a place where you get where you can find the horseradish capital of the world. My hometown, or at least the hometown where I went to high school in Mendota, has a sweet corn festival because they've got a Del Monte processing facility and have been known for sweet corn for quite some time. Unfortunately, I believe that's one of the older plants that is now being keyed to close here in the next few years, but a lot of history in terms of the sweet corn world. But yeah, so we get some of those heritage. I see some other folks that have joined, and we look forward to, I throw the pitch out there. We're doing our trial run today. Still have Rex Hamner from Tok, Alaska, and Emma Freebaron from, Emma, is your address Serena?
It's Ottawa.
It is Ottawa. Ottawa address. Yep. Serena graduated from Serena High School, and Colin White, who went to Midwest Central High School. Which one of the greater metropolises in Midwest Central do you call home for an address there, Colin?
Mine is under Forest City, so same town as Mr. Miller.
Forest City, if you haven't been to Forest City, that wouldn't be a great surprise if you're watching on us, because it's over there, not too far from the river in Mason County. So I've actually, it's come up a couple of times because I was talking to our local Enbridge plant that has a plant here in town, and he said one of his step-up stations is over there in Forest City, actually.
There we go. I was also supposed to mention to you, Mr. Faber Miller texted me and told me that to tell you that he's moving towards God's country right now. And I don't know what that means because he was in Forest City not too long ago. So I'm curious if he's heading your way now. But
Well, that would make sense. We've used that phrase a fair amount. I say that. I always use it here, but there's a certain part where Mr. Hamner is at that I think you could declare as some God's country too, right there. Right, Rex?
Yes, there's numerous locations in this state or even south of me by 2,500 miles that I would call God's country, and that's in western Wyoming. So eastern Alaska or western Wyoming. It just shows that God made some beautiful country all over this world.
Well, and I have to laugh there that you moved from from Wyoming to Alaska, so that just shows how much you don't like being around people there, Rex.
A friend of mine asked why I went to Alaska, and I says Pinedale, Wyoming was getting too civilized.
Well, and I always joked. I joked with Mr. Miller for a long time as well that when we talked about God's country, I grew up outside of a little town called Sublette, up in Lee County, Illinois, and I always said that was God's country. And I use Lee County. Lee County is not a real big county in north central Illinois, but it does hold the town named Grand Detour, which is where John Deere invented the steel plow before he moved down the Rock River out to the Moline area. And also it has the city of Dixon, which was where former President Ronald Reagan had grown up and was a lifeguard in that town on the Rock River. He actually was born in a little town of Tampico, which is in Whiteside County, but I like to say Lee County. And that's why once in a while I tell students the sign on the edge of Lee County says home of John Deere, Ronald Reagan, and Jesse Faber, or at least it could. But
Well, 2 out of 3 is not bad.
What's that?
2 out of 3 is not bad.
Well, we can go with it. I maybe I'll just make the sign someday.
Yeah, there you go.
But with that, I did see we just had Christopher, one of our Pontiac FFA members, Christopher Corrigan, I think has joined in. He's going to go live with the station here on Friday for our virtual Ag Extravaganza. For anybody who happens to be watching us live, that's what we're doing today is we're just kind of testing it out and we're letting the technology run. And both I feel like I've got a whole tech center going here. I've got one device that has the YouTube live going on it. I have another device with it streaming on Facebook Live, which if I actually had the speakers on, it would mess with us because one's on like a 6-second delay and the other one's on like a 20-second delay. But we've got those going and some people joining, and we are just doing some tech checks and making sure that when we go live on Friday, it will be full speed ahead and we will be rocking and rolling. So Christopher, I'm going to let you go. You are, I can't see you. Your camera's not on and you're muted. If you want to go ahead and unmute, welcome. And how's the tech working? Does it seem to be connecting for you?
Yeah, it's connecting pretty well for me.
Well, very good. You want right now there, Christopher, there are 2 of our Illinois State FFA officers who are going to be live with us on Friday that are on this particular call. And then there is Mr. Rex Hamner, who is an ag teacher in Tok, Alaska, and one of his students is going to join us on Friday. We've just been having a ball. I mean, I've been having a ball. I don't know if they have other things that they want to be doing with their day, but I'm really enjoying this. But we'll cut to you there, Christopher. What is your station going to be about, and what do you plan to do here on Friday?
My station plans to be on steam engines, and that was the basic tractor back in the day. But I'm going to be talking pretty much basic maintenance, operating, safety, and just small stuff about it.
So Christopher and his dad and his brother and family there, they've, how many steam engines do you have, Christopher?
We have 2. We used to have 3. We used to have a little small one and we sold it. So right now we have 2, a half scale and a full scale. So
gonna go a little bit live and share some information about their steam engines. Christopher is one of our, he's finishing up his freshman year, first year FFA member, done a really nice job, got involved, was a member of our conduct of chapter meetings team. And and has competed a little bit and been involved. So we're excited for what he's already done and what he'll hopefully continue to do as we continue on through FFA. What was your favorite part of your freshman year here, Christopher?
I would probably say the Farm Progress Show. I enjoyed that one.
Well, good. Well, thank you very much. The technology, if it's working for you, that's fantastic. You are welcome to stay on as long as you want. I have my plan was to keep these live for actually probably about another 45 minutes or so, maybe longer if we just keep talking. But you can stay on or you can bounce off, whatever you prefer there. All right, buddy?
Okay, I got to go take a test, so have a good day.
Real quick, before you leave, Christopher,
Yes.
to tie it together, Illinois to Alaska, we have what's called a biomass plant up here that they'll chip black spruce and we burn it to create steam to heat the glycol, to heat our building, and then it also heats my greenhouse. But we have a steam generator that looks like an old Oliver tractor sitting down on the ground, that they produce 35 kilowatts of electricity off that steam engine. So it's neat how you're going to be talking about steam engines, and we are actually using one, not a steam engine tractor, but we're using steam engine to generate electricity that we use in our school system up here.
Yeah, that's what we use for the prison. My dad used to work at the prison, and that's where he got started with steam engines, because he worked in the engine boiler room, and so that's where we got started pretty much.
Well, good.
Very good. Well, good luck on your test, Christopher. Glad to have you and look forward to having you back when we go live on Friday.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Hey, Jesse, I'm gonna have to sign off. I got superintendent permission. I get a couple of kids that come in and work in the greenhouse, and they'll be showing up at 9:30. And it's a long, like 60-yard walk from my cabin to the greenhouse. So I'm gonna have to be leaving so I can be ready for them. But it's been good seeing you again. I will be in the room with Joe when he's doing his thing on Friday. But yes, let's stay in touch, and we will Zoom together next school year and get major benefits for both bunches of kids.
I like it, sir. I like it. It has been a true joy for me to get to visit here and catch up a little bit, and look forward to having Joe on Friday. So yes.
And just before I leave, I've done this before, so I'll try it again real quick. Just for you, it'll take me a moment here.
I get where you're going with this, Rex.
Okay, sir. We'll see you later.
Well, you be safe. It's good seeing you. We'll see you later, buddy.
All right.
Well, there we have, and so Emma and Colin, that was Mr. Hamner from Tok, Alaska.
He's a character.
He is, the guy is fantastic. I can't even visit with him. Back when we met, he had just retired after 33 years up in Wyoming, and had moved up to Alaska to start a next career and to kind of enjoy what it was that Alaska had to offer. He's got a pack of horses that he liked to use when he was in Wyoming, and he'd go out packing into the mountains and go on hunting trips. And I think he's enjoying it just as much up there in Alaska. So
that's a great country up there that sounds like a fun time, packing horses and going hunting. Up in Alaska would be great.
Well, and that was why at Drone Sun Mountain, he's got a student there who does the trap line. And when we think about trapping in Illinois, we don't think about lynx and wolverines, but that's what he's after. I say that Mr. Bresner, one of our current, about finishing up his junior year here, He has joined on to our Zoom call to kind of check out the technology. I say this again, as I've tried to say it for people that might be watching us live. They were confused as to what we're doing today. We're trial running some technology for a big event that we're planning on Friday. So Mr. Bresner, how are you today, buddy? You're on mute still, or did you just freeze up on us? That's why we're checking. And he's gone again. So I'm gonna go down the next since Colin and Emma haven't left me yet, and that just means I can keep lobbing questions at them. So what's next? What's the future hold for you?
Yep, I got it first.
I was gonna
all
say I
right,
can handle this one too.
he doesn't need time to think about this one. He actually knows. For me, in the fall, I'll be going to Lakeland Community College in Mattoon, judging there, and then I'm gonna figure out what I want to do after that. I know I want to transfer somewhere to a 4-year, just not sure where that is yet, but looking forward to the next 4 years. Probably majoring in ag education, and either leadership or communications. I don't know if necessarily I want to be an ag teacher, but I do enjoy the educating side of things. So we're not sure what that looks like yet, but we'll figure it out in the next few years.
Yeah, and I guess I'll be going to Illinois College in Jacksonville. I'll be majoring in ag business and ag education. While there, as of was that Tuesday or Wednesday, I've officially signed on to be on their speech and debate team. So good new journey there, something a little bit different. But yeah, going there, majoring in ag business, ag education, and then hopefully after school, come back, family farm a little bit, return to popcorn pumpkins a little bit, and having that ag education degree maybe open up if I want to go teach. That option is available for me. During chapter visits, I enjoyed doing middle school visits, so maybe looking into that realm a little bit. But optioneering is also on the table. I do want to go do that at some point in my life, get my license, and go around auctioneer just like Mr. Miller.
So sounds like you're trying to tempt me with so many potential jokes there. But no, and I say this, I am a shameless promoter. I am a shameless recruiter for people that come into ag education. Obviously love what we do here. Love the chance to work with folks like you, with those folks like we have there at Pontiac and across the country there in ag education. I do think that it's a wonderful place to be, and we could go into, as both of you know, I have enough little side hobbies there in the world of trying to promote ag education and what we do as teachers. I think that there's so much value to that, and I'm very proud of some of those young people that have gone through our own classrooms that have pursued on and become some really outstanding ag teachers. I know that I've had a number of them that have happened to jump on this Facebook Live. Some of them might still be on right now. I feel the need to embarrass if Liz is still on, or Mitch is still on, or Abby is still on, as some former students that we have that have gone on and done really good things in ag education positions. So that's wonderful. I am thrilled that it is at least on both of your radars as a potential that is out there. I am gonna go to Colin here real quick. You are a bit of a pioneer with the ag program that you're going into there, correct? You're attending a college that's pretty new to the agriculture world, and are you in the very first class of the ag education world there?
So the ag program there has been going on. I think I'd be coming in year 3 or 4 of the ag program, but I would be the first ag education graduate going through that school, or one of the first. So that's pretty exciting to think about. Like touching on it a little bit, they've only had an ag degree for 3 or 4 years now. But the interesting thing was, I think his name was Dr. Turner. He, way back during the land grant days, he was one of the original people who helped draft and sign the original Land Grant Act that helped create space for colleges such as U of I and all across the country. So no, ag hasn't been a degree at Illinois College, but Illinois College has been like the home place for ag education in a sense, being that he taught at Illinois College and helped try to get agriculture education spread throughout the country in a formalized way at college. So that's always cool to think about, even though we may be lacking a little bit in like experience. It's always been there, and ag's always been the center of the college.
Well, that I am excited actually in one of the programs that I am in. I think I'm going to take a course this summer. That's a graduate level course. It's being taught out of University of Missouri. That is the history of land grant universities. Well, it is, and I say that we're just having a free talk here as my technology continues to roll, and I do a little troubleshooting as we go. But you know, the fact is, we sit here in Illinois, and you know, namesake or home place of Abraham Lincoln and all the great things that he did, and one of those major things being when he signed that Morrill Act and established land grant universities. And you talk about, I believe where you said Turner, that would be Jonathan Baldwin Turner, if I am correct.
That is correct.
Namesake of Turner Hall there at the University of Illinois, our land grant institution, as well as the JBT scholarship program that they have, and really, really innovative. I actually was doing some looking. I'm going to throw this out there to the two of you. So my question for either of you, in all of your travels and learning about Illinois and Illinois agriculture, have you found anywhere where there is an Illinois Agriculture Hall of Fame?
I mean, you could almost describe that as anywhere you go, because, like, for example, we were talking about visiting food industry and food science earlier, and we met with one of our friends at Tyson, and she was worked in research and development, but she was one of the ones who originally worked on food safety in packing plants, especially around the Jack in the Box incident, whenever that was. So talking about the legacy that she has, and then obviously meeting Mr. Faber is just a celebrity in himself in the ag world. But I mean, everywhere you go, it seems like in Illinois, there's somebody who's done something for agriculture. So I wouldn't say there's just one place, but I feel like it's almost everywhere you go that you can meet somebody who is the Ag Hall of Fame.
Well played. Well played.
Thank
I'd
you.
have to agree.
My well-documented ego that you're trying to feed there. I appreciate that.
And I think I might have to slide off here for a minute because my phone is about to die. So I will be hopefully back to save you, Emma, in a few minutes. But at the moment, I'm going to take off. So thank you, Mr. Faber, for having me.
Well, thank you very much, Colin. This has been a joy. You didn't have to stay on for an hour plus here with us, but I've sure enjoyed it. We look forward to having you back on Friday. If you want to come on, I'm going to be on until about 1 o'clock is what I told folks. We do that for our tech checks. And for you guys are probably not surprised is that if Emma needs to bounce off too, I can fill airtime. But no, appreciate it. Look forward to having you back, and thank you very much. And thank you, and proud of you for all the work you've done here as state FFA officer this year. Illinois is awfully proud of you, and we're looking forward to having you be a part of our event here with Pontiac FFA, our virtual ag extravaganza on Friday.
Well, thank you, Mr. Faber.
See you later, Colin.
Bye.
And so we've got another one joining us here in just a second there, Emma. But on that thought, it was kind of as I was thinking about it, and for this other side project, kind of looking up what were some of the historical inventions in agriculture here in Illinois. I'm like, there's just not necessarily that. But I am going to bounce. I saw Mr. Davis, one of our locals here to Pontiac, actually just down the road from me, Dan Davis, who has a buffalo farm, has got into the American bison business here lately. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it. You able to hear me there, Dan? It doesn't say that you're muted, but I cannot hear you, Dan. Check your, I'm going to try and shoot you a text. I think that make sure that the audio is working through your phone. I can see it. Oh, now it says that now it says you're muted. Let me try this.
I can hear you now.
Oh, there you are.
I hit the wrong button on audio.
With this, we have Dan Davis, who is joining us from his, actually just down the road from my house, from the farm. So no, fantastic. This looks good. What you're going to join us on Friday for a virtual extravaganza. What have you got out there, Dan?
We have 23 bison. I should have, and possibly even before Friday, we might have 4 or 5 little babies by then. Cross your fingers and we'll see.
Well, that is good to know. I've got a few young people here in my house that'll want to come down the road. So perfect. Can you, so is technology working okay for you there?
Yeah, my audio is a little bit spotty, and I don't know how I sound with the wind blowing like it is today, but other than that, it looks okay.
Oh, I think that's great. How long, and we are live on both Facebook and YouTube right now. How long have you been in the bison business?
We started in 2018. We bought animals from 4 different people, several in Indiana and a couple here in Illinois, as well as we acquired some from Wildlife Prairie Park here within the last few weeks. Like I said, we have 23 animals right now. We practice rotational grazing, and we're about capacity as far as our acreage here. But the fact that bison take a year longer than cattle to get to market weight, this is our first year we'll be able to actually market some of our own animals.
So when, for anybody that's interested, when are you thinking the first ones are going to go to market?
This fall I should have a group of 5, fall or winter, depending on weights.
Have you already scheduled your dates to take them into the locker?
No, but I'm quickly learning that that's kind of a hot topic of conversation where I need to probably get going on that.
Yeah, just from my own experience last week, I believe that the locker just down the road, the Chinoa locker, they were already scheduling out to mid-October. I think they're booked through mid to late October already. And I know my dad said one back home is booked into February. So you might want to make a phone call there, friend.
Yep, I need to get going on that with all of our labels and everything and get that all set up.
Well, very good. Well, this technology looks like it works, and should be all set. This is exactly what it'll look like there on Friday. To join us and be able to kind of go live there. We actually,
Perfect.
if you see other people, one of our state FFA officers and a dear family friend of mine, Miss she's been on here, and we've just been visiting casually for a bit. So she's the other person here, but looks like the technology works there, Dan, and excited to have you back on Friday.
Okay, we'll see you then.
All right, have a good one.
Yep, later.
So yeah, that is we're adding and excited to kind of the different variations. We've been a very popular place. I've taken a couple of classes out to the bison farm and got to see that as well as a number of other things in agriculture, but they are just down the road. He's got a bull out there that is, I think he clocks in just over a ton. And when you're standing next to the fence, he looks like a big boy.
I bet. No, that's really cool. Especially the whole like marketing side of it. I actually didn't know they took an extra year than cattle. I assume they took a little longer, but that's pretty interesting.
It's very grain fed. I see here as I've been watching some of our social media, this and I am still visiting with Miss Emma Freebaron just because she apparently doesn't have something better to be doing today than just visiting with me. But we're just trying running some technology. If you are watching us, I hope that you come back on Friday. We're going to start at 10 a.m. We're going to go live for a whole number of stations of different agricultural stops, a lot of FFA members, a lot of Pontiac FFA members, but also a lot of great partners and FFA members from across the country. If everything comes together, I think that we're going to have people joining us from 5 different time zones, a number of different states, obviously, and showing everything in agriculture from Mr. Davis that was just on with bison, and Emma's going to be coming live from her family's feedlot to some of the crop production, the mechanical side of stuff, plants, wildlife, and just seeing a wide variety. So we're excited. The longer I'm on here, the more I get excited for what we're going to end up doing on Friday, and really looking forward to it. And So yeah, so here's a fun fact for you. I mean, with what I've found, and this goes back to that question we had with Colin. Kind of, I started learning, or as I visited with just people across the country, and realizing that there are some states that do things like an agriculture hall of fame, or they have different things like that. And I got to thinking about Illinois and such great things as whether you talk about the Chicago Board of Trade, whether it's John Deere with the invention of the steel plow, Abraham Lincoln with the Morrill Act, the namesake. Are you familiar with where barbed wire was invented?
Oh, why do I feel like I've been told this? You're gonna have to tell me where, but I know I've heard it before.
So if you go, there is a high school that their mascot is the Barbs, not that far from you, actually. DeKalb, Illinois.
Yeah.
I believe the first name is escaping me, but Glidden. Glidden is the last name that invented barbed wire up in DeKalb, Illinois.
I kind of thought that was it, but I wasn't sure. And I was starting to think about all the different high schools in that area. And I knew it was one just north, but that's right. That's definitely right.
During my reading, or during kind of just as I was looking, they actually, I believe the silo was invented here in Illinois as well, as a storage unit. And so yeah, some crazy things. The modern meat packing industry, if you think about the Chicago stockyards and how those packing plants operated. But here's one. And now I see we have someone else who's joined. Mr. Phelps from upstate New York has joined us, I think. So we're gonna see if the tech, for your knowledge, Emma, Mr. Phelps, and he is from Lowville, New York, I believe, if I said that right, and has had some family members that have recently been in the state and national leadership realm of FFA. Mel, this is Emma Freebairn, just because she apparently doesn't have something better to do than to sit on Zoom talking to me. She is going to be live as well, but she's one of our current state FFA officers here in Illinois. So Mr. Phelps, welcome, sir. How are you today? You're on mute, sir. I'll mute you. There, I unmuted you. There you are.
All right. So it's Lowville, like Cowville. Lowville, yes. I called it Lawville for the longest time, and I grew up in the town over. So they corrected me quickly 20 years ago when I started teaching.
So I see that you have a background. At first, I thought you were actually in the shop, but it's realistic.
I was so proud of my organized pegboard that I put in my shop that I used it as a backdrop one time. The last time I had a Zoom, because we use Google Meets for everything for school. So I had a 4-H uses Zoom. So I was actually out in the shop when I had my last dairy committee meeting, and so I use that as my background, and it was just what was there when I called in today. So
no, I very much appreciate it. And looks like the tech is working. Are we still good to learn a little bit about maple syrup and forestry?
yes. So I don't know if you saw my email a little while ago. There's Mickey Dietrich is a forester. I've got his daughter, or I had his daughter in 8th grade ag, and I grew up with Mickey. And so he used to work for the state, I think. And so he has set up, because our issue was a lot of the people either have not started yet for the spring because the roads are still closed. The seasonal roads were closed, and a lot of that's happening is not in cell phone service, because it's in pretty remote parts of the state. So there's no cell phone service. So I reached out to Mickey, and he found somebody that was doing some stuff and was in a good spot with cell phone service. And so he offered to take care of that. So he may be joining later today, because I forwarded him the email with the information to log on.
There was a Mickey that was in the waiting room ever so briefly here about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, yep.
Someone else was in the middle of visiting, so I didn't. But he was I saw the name pop up for maybe 90 seconds, and then it was gone again. So
okay.
no, that's perfect. And so we'll be we'll be all set for that, and looking forward to having it. I know that my family thoroughly enjoyed the maple syrup that you brought us last year.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And then I'll do the maple syrup with my son, Brandon, who's a state vice president this year. So he'll help me do the maple syrup. So that's part of his SAE. So
I like it, other than I'm not going to be able to taste it through the Zoom meeting.
right. That's one of the downfalls, right?
Well, I number one, that's awesome. I couldn't remember. So Brandon is a vice president this year. You've had several children that have gone through FFA leadership, correct?
Yeah. So our oldest was state treasurer, and then Ashley was state president, and then she was national vice president. So then I got two more boys at home, 7th and 8th grade. Right now, I guess you could call them 8th and 9th grade now that they're ending our year early. So,
but they so quite the lineage there and celebration in the FFA world there, sir. What year was the which national office?
Eastern Region
vice president.
Would have been 2 years ago, I think. This was our second national convention out of office.
So we're very cool. Very proud for anybody that happens to be joining on or watching this later. We're talking and have Mr. Melvin Phelps from Lowville, New York, and him and I say this, his wife Jen is also an agriculture educator at a neighboring school. Which school is she at?
Carthage.
Carthage?
Yep.
And they are just, I consider them two dear friends. We've met through the CASE curriculum project. Actually, I met Mel, I don't know how many years. Well, it has been 6 years ago now, I guess, right? 7.
I think so. 2015, I think.
It was it was before that. I thought it was 13.
It was AFNR in Minnesota.
I think my little girl it was the summer she turned 1.
Okay.
Which is that bad that's how I tell time is based on how old my kids are?
Well, at least you know how old your daughter was at the time. I've got so many kids I don't even know their names some days.
It was funny. I took we went to the home farm here over the weekend, and my dad, and we were moving some cattle, and it's funny because when my dad starts throwing out names, it's like he just goes through the list until he hits the right one.
Yeah.
But
I named my boys at one point. I was like, number 5. The problem is then we had an exchange student come live with us for part of the year. So he fell kind of in the middle. So we had number 3 and 3A, because I knew if I bumped everybody down, then, whoever was 5 is now 6. And so that would have thrown them all off. So.
Well, that's, I actually understand that. I've only got 2. I don't get them crossed up too bad too often. But I will say that, I didn't realize, I don't know that I made that connection that your son Brandon there was a state FFA officer currently. I think with a phone call conversation I had this morning there, Mel, that we're going to have, that makes 5 state officers, or I guess the one in Alaska just retired here this spring. So 5 state officers from 4 different states that'll be joining us on Friday amongst the other stations we have. So we're kind of excited.
Awesome.
I'm excited for it. Heck, I'm just enjoying this time where I think I've been live for about an hour and 45 minutes now. And I'm enjoying this part. I can't even wait till
and everything's working all right for you then? Everybody has been able to connect and
yeah, we've had a little bit of just making sure we're mute or unmute, and I think a few people are figuring out the wind playing in their background. So I don't know. I've had as I think about my stations, I was keeping track, but then I just got lost in conversation here. I think we've probably had about I don't know, a third of those that are going to be presenting that have really joined on to check it out. But I am perfectly okay with that. And I told some, I go, my biggest challenge is one of my buddies who was going to join on from from the tractor dealership. And I go, I just don't want to have to be trying to help you figure out how to download the Zoom app the day of.
So what I'll do is I will sign off with you, then I'll give Mickey a call again and let him know that you did not realize his name and you were in the middle of doing stuff. So if he wants to try it again, he can. So if you see his name pop up, it's him trying again. But
well, and I was going to click him over. We were just in the middle. Someone was finishing talking, and then I was going to click over, and then he was gone. So
yep. And so all right. So I just want to make sure that he's familiar with that too, so that there's not any issues on Friday for you. So
that sounds perfect, sir. I look forward to it, and good talking to you.
All right. Good talking to you too. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Did you learn something there about upstate New York there, Emma?
I did. I actually know Brandon, his son. So that was really cool. I heard you say Mr. Phelps got on. And I was like, yeah, we spent a lot of time, Illinois and New York state officer teams. We got really close at our state officer summit this past summer. So that was really cool to hear about that. And I'm excited to see Brandon again when he presents with his dad on Friday.
Yeah, it's they're great, just great folks, and we kind of mentioned there, but we've been involved, and I guess I throw that one of the things, and I'm not here to necessarily promote one thing over the next one, but one of the curriculum project, the case curriculum project that brought me together with the Phelpses has been a huge thing when I think about just professional leadership, and I think about the engagement of professional network and adults. And when I say that, we say professional, but it's become some of my best personal friends or folks that are time zones away that have connected. And this is also me throwing out my push there to promote ag education there, Emma. I'd love to do that. So are you excited to go to Lakeland?
I am. Yeah, I was really excited even before this, I mean, I was really, really excited to be a state officer, but at the same time, like, it would have been easy to go to Lakeland too, just because I knew that was what I wanted to do after this. So I'm excited to judge. I hope I'm able to judge. I mean, heck, hopefully everything opens up and we can get back to that, but it should be a really good time. I've had a lot of friends that have gone there and said the same thing. So
have you heard anything from your school about any changes or anything in terms of signed up, get any changes that you're expecting so far or that they've declared?
Nobody's declared anything. All I've really seen from the governor is that we should possibly expect it, but from Lakeland, no, they haven't said anything yet. I've gotten registered for classes and I have an apartment and everything, but nobody's said yes or no. So we're just kind of waiting still.
Well, that's good. I'm excited for you as you kind of think about that and move forward. Obviously we're very familiar path, the community college world, the livestock judging world, and things that are very close to me as well.
Yeah, I think it's underrated. I think it's an awesome experience. I mean, for some people it is, for some it isn't, but definitely like for livestock judging kids, I mean, it's the way to go. It's more experience and more opportunities. So yeah, I'm really excited.
I am a huge advocate for the community college system, whether you judge or not, but just in general, I'm also a fan of saying, find the one that fits you best. And it's not necessarily, if you look at it and you're, maybe there's a program that your local one doesn't offer that a different one offers, that means you can still go explore it and take a look. And, a lot of them that local programs that offer really good things for young people. I know that, when you go down to Lakeland, there's going to be a lot of students in that ag program that are in your classes that are within the Lakeland district, as well as plenty that have transferred in or come in from other places. So I think that I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
Yes. Well, I might have to get off here. I actually have another call here in 10 minutes. So we're doing some state officer team planning and weekly meetings with Mrs. Bunselmeyer and Mr. Edgar. So I got to get my computer and pulled up and prepared for that.
Well, you give them my best. I do not want to make you late for a meeting with them. And although I would find it somewhat entertaining, I don't need to be the cause. So, you know what, Emma, you made my 2 hours here sitting on here awfully enjoyable just with the visit. I hope that it's been valuable to you too. I have sure enjoyed it and look forward to having you join us on Friday as well. I'm very excited for that event. And best of luck and with your continued work, and so proud of you with what you've done as a state officer. So,
Well,
and,
thanks. It was really good to catch up. We'll see you on Friday.
and please make sure you send my best to your parents there.
Yes, I will. I told Dad earlier, and he said to make sure I told you hi next time we talk. So
Very good. Have a great day, and we'll see you on Friday, Emma.
yes, well, take care. Yep. Bye.
We continue to be live, and I am continuing to be live here. I am grateful that Emma was able to stick around as long as she was. She was on the call here for about the last hour and 45 minutes, and we've had a number of people. We are excited here with Pontiac FFA, and I know you're just getting to see me now, but we are excited with Pontiac FFA to go live with our virtual Ag extravaganza this Friday. We're going to start at 10 a.m. We've got a number of stations. And so for those of you that might be watching, or for those of you that might see this in the tape delay, we are absolutely excited for a number of stations that we're going to have that are coming to us. We are going to go live from a number of different states. As I say that, just checking in already today. We had students as well as a couple of adults that are also helping to kind of coordinate. We're going to have a student showing off some pigs. They checked in earlier. One of our local farmers, and actually works for the police force, that is going to go live from his bison farm as he started that operation. We also had an ag teacher check in from Lowville, New York, who is coordinated to have one of their local professionals talk about forestry, as well as he and his son, who is a state FFA officer in upstate New York, that's going to talk about maple syrup production. Emma Freebaron just bounced off. She's going to join us from their local feedlot with an Ottawa, Illinois address. Mr. Colin White, who has some popcorn and specialty crop production, is going to come live to us from Forest City, Illinois. Libby Larkin and Wyland Torkelson and Clara Haas are all FFA members here in Pontiac, as well as Kaylin Lane. They're all FFA members here in Pontiac that are going to come live to talk about whether it's chickens or whether it's some farm safety, their beef cattle or the garden. We've got a variety of them. They're going to talk about those types of things and come live in order to do so with that. We also had, I know Jacob Bresner checked in briefly from his beef cattle operation. Christopher Corrigan, both of Pontiac, are going to check in with, and he's going to check in talking about steam engines and the family operation there. Beyond just those that have kind of checked in and some of our local members, I know we've got a local student who's really excited. He's working on his pilot's license, works for a local company here in town called Pontiac Flying Service, and is really a neat opportunity. He's excited for his operation and to share that with you. We've got a couple of ag teachers that are going to maybe join us from the West Coast, and they're working on making sure their technology, they might come more in video form, looking at from the greenhouse or from the cranberry bogs. A local FFA member just up the road at a neighboring town, that she started her own bakery, recent state proficiency award winner, started the Blue Eyed Rascal Bakery there in Streator, Illinois, and she's going to come live. Her sister was a state finalist in the food service proficiency area, but they're going to come live from the bakery. Brother, sister from Prairie Central FFA chapter, its neighboring school, that have started their own dairy cattle operation, and they've really done a lot with raising dairy cattle. I believe the national champion dairy evaluation team, and one of them just won a state proficiency award, are going to come live with some dairy cattle. have a young member, one of our students here in Pontiac, that is a member of the Purebred Rabbit Breeders Association, really loves his mini Rex rabbits and is excited to share those with everybody. And he's going to go live talking about rabbits. I've learned a lot about rabbits from him. Another young man that was a recent state proficiency finalist is a sophomore here from Pontiac, going to go live from his tree from the forestry project that he's got, where it's about tree removal and going to talk some safety and equipment that they use in the tree removal business. A pair of brothers that are Pontiac FFA members. One just received a state FFA degree, and another was participated and competed in the Creed speaking event, is going to go and talk about some equipment and tractors as well. Another member with his brother, actually a older brother that is recommended now for his American FFA degree, as well as a younger brother that's going to be a senior this next year with some high aspirations. I'm a very active FFA member, are going to go live, hopefully showing some of the technology, GPS technologies and planting technologies with their equipment and on their crop farm. Also have a recently, we're going to get back to the state officers here in a moment, actually. Another FFA member from Normal West FFA chapter is going to join us from her sheep production enterprise, recent state proficiency winner in sheep production, and also someone who I get to work with on the 4-H livestock judging team and have really enjoyed that. And then we'll have one of our young ladies that's going to be a senior next year. She's going to go live from their farm, from her dad's farm, and talk a little bit about some of the equipment that they use in row crop production here in Central Illinois. As I say that, I think about some of the variety. I know that we have one of our good friends in an FFA chapter out of Tennessee that is still working on pulling together a couple of those opportunities. They ran into some snags. Hoping to have them on board with us on Friday, and know that they're working on that. If we can pull it together, maybe have a little bit of a glimpse into the Tennessee, particularly West Tennessee agricultural world. And we also have a local business. Some alumni work there, some of the great supporters of agriculture education at Stoller International here in Pontiac, talking about going live from and getting an up close look at some of the equipment on the machinery side of things. So I think I just went through our schedule. Oh, and that's where we get really excited for some of our partners across the country. And when I say that, some partners in terms of FFA leadership, some of the partners that we have made some connections. And I think that we're gonna, at least we're scheduled to have 5 state FFA officers. And I say one of them we just mentioned there, from Lowville, New York, state FFA officer in New York that's going to talk with his dad about maple syrup production. We've been on live for a long time today with both Colin White and Emma Freebaron of Illinois with their respective projects. And had a phone call conversation with Ashlyn Oshner, state FFA officer from Colorado. Her family has a ranch out there, really focused on limousine cattle, but really an interesting approach, and something that'll offer nice diversity and variety as we talk about some of the different beef cattle operations that we have across the country. And then we'll have Mathea Boatwright from Alaska, recently retired state FFA officer from Alaska, that will be joining us from her farm where she produces yaks. And we'll get to learn a little bit about yaks. And I'm excited to learn a little bit about yaks as well. When I say that, I've had the privilege to be involved in agriculture education most of my life. I've got a couple of uncles that were agriculture educators at the high school level. I've got a family that's been involved in informal education as 4-H leaders and extension, operators. When I was younger, my mom taught agriculture and coached judging teams at the community college level and has been involved there. Really enjoy agriculture education. And one of the things that I look forward to highlighting here on Friday, and I'm so excited that Pontiac FFA members and some of the officers and their excitement to help bring this event live for everybody. Really geared towards elementary students, but boy, I'd encourage anybody to join on. I think we've got quite a schedule I think we've got quite a platform that we're going to be able to share this with on this Friday. Today, as we're getting close to 1 o'clock, and I think I might just hang out a few more minutes. As we get close to 1 o'clock, my goal today was to go live. And we've been live now for the last 2 hours. During that time, we've seen a number of the people that are presenting on Friday that have joined on. We are going to go live for all of our participants. It's going to look like a Zoom meeting to them. As you see here, if you see kind of out in the corner, Ava, you want to be on the screen? We can put you on the screen. My own little girl here that is excited. She is excited to watch the events that we're going to have on Friday. She really likes her animals as well, don't you, Ava? And so we're going to go live on Friday to show you all of this. We spent the last 2 hours highlighting a lot of those projects. From my end, I think that we're good to go in terms of Facebook Live. I think that we're good to go in terms of YouTube Live, and we're going to be able to look at those as well. And so with all of that, to those of you that have been watching, thank you. To those of you that might see this on the tape, that is fantastic too. And please share that and share it alike. I've got to do just a little bit more here in just a moment. It's going to be awkward. I'm going to do a sound check and kind of a tape delay check for my platforms that I'm doing. So with that, we're going to do a tape delay. I know we're going to check YouTube first. And so I'm going to say, go ahead and mark. It's going to be awkward. I'm going to do a sound check and kind of a tape delay check for my platforms that I'm doing. So with that, anybody that's been watching us on YouTube has been delayed about 25 seconds. And so now I'm going to take a look on our Facebook platform. And I'm going to say, go ahead and mark. I'm going to take a look on So there are my 2 platforms. For those of you that like following technology, our YouTube platform is delayed about 25 seconds. Our Facebook platform is delayed about 14 seconds. And so as we kind of look and I think about how we're going to manage this for Friday and people that are able to comment and follow along, I think that we'll be able to make this work just fine. Based on my own clocks, it would appear that we are at about 1:02 p.m. Central Time. I was planning to go from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for any technology and sound checks. Thank you all that have watched. Thank you all for looking in. But most importantly, remember that on Friday, this Friday, May 8th, 2020, we are going to go live from Facebook. We're going to go live from YouTube. And we're going to do an ag extravaganza, and we're going to have a whole bunch of stations, and it's going to go starting at 10 a.m. We're scheduled actually for about between 4 and 5 hours. Come in, join, stay as long as you can. If you can't start with us, come on, join whenever you can for as long as you can. We're excited to highlight agriculture. We're excited to highlight agriculture education. We're excited to highlight a whole bunch of FFA members that are just doing fantastic things and representing the mission of FFA to develop premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agriculture education. We are truly excited to bring that to you. And thank you much for being a part of this so far. With that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream for today and encourage you to come back. Virtual Ag Extravaganza, Pontiac FFA on Facebook, Pontiac FFA on YouTube, starting at 10 a.m. Friday, March 8th. Have a great day, everybody.